get your act together, please, and clean up your workspaces because we have an all-time great waiting for us on the Mercedes-Benz Vans phone line. He is a Hall of Famer, and his documentary on his life and career, Facing Nolan, was just screened at South by Southwest. Baseball Hall of Famer Nolan Ryan here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you doing, sir?
Good, Rich. How are you?
I'm doing great. I am just doing great, man. I'm a big fan. So I'm honored that you have called into the show.
Well, thank you.
You bet. So what about this documentary appealed to you about having it made and doing it, Nolan Ryan?
Well, to be honest with you, I really had put it off. I'd had a few requests, but it wasn't something that I really cared about doing, and my children and my wife kept on me about. They felt like I needed to do it for my grandchildren, and so I finally consented to it, and I feel like the guys did a really good job on it. I was real pleased with the results.
So when was the first time you realized you could throw a baseball really well, Nolan?
You know, growing up and playing Little League, I couldn't throw any harder than anybody else. I could probably throw the ball further than anybody, but not harder. And after my sophomore year in high school, when I went out for the baseball team that spring, I hit my last growth spurt, and when I went out for the team, it was like I had somebody else's arm, and I don't have an explanation for that, but that's the first time that it showed that I had this gift.
And what was it like being on the Mets when you first started in the late 60s, the 69 Mets, the famed Mets team that still resonates today with Seaver on the mound and Koosman and the rest of that staff, and you were in the pen, if I'm not mistaken. Correct, Nolan? Back in that day?
What had happened was I was in and out of the rotation, but I had a military obligation. That was back in the days of the Vietnam War, and I was in a top priority reserve unit in Houston, so every other weekend I had to fly to Houston for my reserve meetings, and because of that, I never was consistently in the rotation, and so when I wasn't in the rotation, they'd put me in the bullpen. And the biggest challenge I had was I had control problems, and I didn't really understand my delivery and what I had to do until I went to the California Angels, and I was then my obligation with the reserves was over, and I started pitching every fourth day.
Huh. So what was it like being a teammate of Seaver, Nolan?
Tom had a big influence on my career because he was the first player I ever played with that was as focused as he was, and his intent was to make baseball a career, and he approached his career that way, and so being a teammate of his and being a friend of his, I was able to observe him on a day-to-day basis, and it definitely had an influence on me.
Toughest hitter you had to face early in your career was who, Nolan?
Oh, back in those days, because I was really just a fastball pitcher, was Willie McCovey. Willie started with left-handed power hitters that were good fastball hitters, and then obviously it changed later in my career when I faced left-handers that didn't swing in bad pitches, didn't help you out. People like Pete Rose and George Brett, Rod Carews, Tony Gwynn, those kind of guys.
What about Clemente? What about him?
Clemente was a very aggressive right-handed hitter, and if he left the ball up out over the plate, he'd hit the ball to any part of the ballpark, and was a fun guy to pitch to because he was such a challenge.
And what about Rose? Walk me through Pete Rose facing him.
Rose, I thought, was a better off-speed hitter than he was a fastball hitter, but he had the unique ability to foul off pitches until he got a pitch that he could handle.
What was the guy that you were most pleased to have hit, Nolan?
Oh, I don't know. I hadn't really ever thought about that.
No, that's why I ask it. What do you got? When we're like, okay, you know what? I didn't mean to hit him, but I'm glad I did. Anything like that?
Yeah, well, I came close to him.
Nobody. There's nobody who sleeps to mind from back in your day. All right. That's all water underneath the bridge from back in your day.
Pretty much so. You know, pitching's changed considerably. They don't pitch inside much anymore, and when you came up to the big leagues, it was understood that you were going to pitch inside.
So, who's the guy that that I guess showed you, or when you were coming into the league or growing up, that pitching inside was crucial? Which was that guy?
I tell you who had an influence on me was Don Drysdale. He was an announcer with the Angels
Sure.
when I was there, and on road trips, on whether we were in the plane or the bus, we'd sometimes get to talking pitching and talk about setting up hitters and how you approach them and about pitching inside.
You know, it's pretty incredible. Nolan Ryan here on the Rich Eisen Show. Again, Facing Nolan is a documentary that you should all seek out. It just got screened at South by Southwest, and it's on the upcoming festival circuit right here on the Rich Eisen Show. So it's amazing. You know, you're in the Guinness Book of World Records for breaking 100 miles an hour. That's still in there, and it seems... You know, if you don't throw 100 miles an hour or don't have the opportunity to touch 100 miles an hour, you're not going to be coming out of somebody's pen these days. It seems like everybody 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th innings, openers instead of starters. It just seems that that's the state of Major League Baseball. What do you think of that development about the sport?
Well, I'm not a big fan of the way they're using pitching in the big leagues nowadays, and the fact that starters are going 4 or 5 innings, because I really feel like that you're underutilizing those people, and they're usually your best pitchers. And so why wouldn't you try to get more innings out of them and put less pressure on the bullpen? And then the thing that they want out of the bullpen is to bring big upside arms in and just have them throw the ball by people and pitch an inning. And you don't have long men, and you have a combination of short relievers. And when I was pitching on a 4-day rotation in California, we had 9 pitchers on our pitching staff. And now you have 13 to 14 on the Major League staff, and it's because how they use them.
Well, what if somebody had come up to you on the mound and, you know, it's top 5, right? It's top 5. You're not even yet through, you know, an official, if you will, start to try and get a win. Tie game, guy on first, but it's the 3rd time through the order and the leadoff guy comes up and the manager asks for the ball because they see the numbers that 3rd time through the order is not your strong suit. What would you have said in that regard, Nolan Ryan?
Well, you know, obviously that wasn't our mindset in those days. And when you started the game, our intent was to finish a game. And I think I had 2 years in a row, and I'm doing this off memory, and I don't have a memory like Pete Rose does, so I can't recall pitches and stuff. But I want to say that I completed 26 games 2 years in a row. And nowadays, you wouldn't even have the 26 complete games in all the major leagues.
Why? You know, is it just it's just? I mean, obviously, you've spent some time in baseball recently. What was the conversation in these front offices on this sort of business?
You know, analytics has taken over the game, and they're right about the 3rd time through the order. The hitters have a better opportunity and a better feel for what you're throwing, what your pitches look like, and it increases their chances of getting a base hit. But if you have, could you picture taking Tom Seaver out in the 4th or 5th inning? I don't think so.
I hear you. So did you ever say something in the room and I guess got into some sort of a debate on this subject?
Well, when I worked for the Astros, they didn't include players, ex-players in those discussions because the general manager has never played the game and the analytical people have never played the game. And what we thought went totally against what their numbers were telling them, so they didn't want to hear it.
So what would your suggestion be if you, Nolan Ryan, could wave, a Nolan Ryan wand and say this needs to be implemented in Major League Baseball? What would it be?
Well, I would honestly use my starters longer. But, with analytics, you can evaluate whether a player, the third time through the lineup, pitcher, he's losing his stuff. His spin rate isn't as good, and his movement isn't as good on his pitches. And then once that shows with an individual, then you can make that change. But when you have people, and I'm going to use Seaver for an example, the Tom Seaver pitching for you, you're better off, even if he doesn't have quite as good of stuff in the 6th or 7th inning as he had in the 1st or 2nd inning. He's still, with the competitor that he is and the ability to throw the ball where he wants it, is still your best option.
Nolan Ryan here on the Rich Eisen Show. I've waited 10+ minutes to ask this question. I think you know what's coming, but I'll do it anyway. The time where Robin Ventura charged the mound on you, Nolan. What's your recollection of that day and that moment when he charged the mound?
Well, there was a history between the White Sox and the Rangers that year of kind of bad blood. We had a fight with them earlier in the year, and Robin's first time up at the plate, I left the ball out over the plate, and he got to hit the left field. And so the next time up, I was going to pitch him in, and I just got too far in and hit him. And I think because of the fact that we had a fight earlier and there were hard feelings between those two teams, that he just reacted.
Well, I mean, you were 20 years his senior, Nolan, so were you surprised that he was actually charging the mound on you?
Yeah, I think anytime that happens, you're surprised by it, but mainly from Robin, because that wasn't his nature.
Right, at all. Was it your nature to give noogies to the top of his head, Nolan?
Well, I guess it was. You just react to the situation, and as I've said, when I go somewhere, it's about the third question that comes up is about Robin Ventura, and I always said, it's of all the things that had happened in my career, that's the thing I'm remembered for.
No, I mean, it's definitely, somebody who's 20 years somebody's senior, whooping somebody like that will always leap out, and then it's somebody of your stature, and Robin's a terrific player in his own right and a really great guy. It was definitely out of his character.
He's nice as he can be, and like I say, I think it's just the moment.
I'm sure it was. And so how many people charged the mound on you in your career? How often did that happen? Who were the others?
Willie McCovey and Dave Winfield.
Winfield? What happened? What happened with those moments? What happened with those guys?
Well, in Willie McCovey's case, it was in spring training, and I think he just reacted just like Robin did. Uh-huh. And with Dave Winfield, it was his free agent year with San Diego, and our book on him was to pitch him in and stay in on him, and so I had thrown 3 fastballs in on him, and he just, I think, was so frustrated because he was in a mini slump that he just reacted.
Did you get them too? Did you send them home too? No.
Well, those other 2 guys are a handful.
That they are. Have you ever spoken to them about it in Cooperstown? Any of those moments? Nolan?
I'd seen Willie several times, and obviously there weren't any hard feelings. And Dave, I see him periodically, and I feel the same way about it. It's just the moment of being competitive.
So who's the pitcher, Nolan, that you'd put hard-earned American dollars down to watch pitch today? I
like Garrett Cole. I think that he's aggressive. He pitches well. He has good stuff, and he's a competitor.
Okay. And when was the last time you got on a mound?
A long time ago. I could still throw for a long time after I retired, but those days are definitely over.
Okay, so when was the last time you touched 100? When was the last time that happened for you?
It was a long time ago, too.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, like, if I put you on a mound right now, Nolan, what do you think you can get up to? What do you think?
Oh, I don't think the radar would read on it.
Oh, come on.
Pathetic.
Come on now. Well,
you got to realize I'm 75 years old.
I know. So that's just a number. That's just a number. That's it. I mean, you could touch what? Come on, you could touch 80 right now. You could throw your. Let's put it this way. You could throw your age, right? If we put you on a mound right now.
I would like to think I could.
Just trying to. My son's just playing. He's a lefty. He's just starting Little League right now. So I'm just trying to. I'm going to show him this interview later on, so you can.
You got him going the right way, being a left-hander.
When he picked a ball up with his left hand for the first time, I turned to my wife. I'm like, we are retiring 45 years from now. That is exactly right. You know, congratulations on the documentary.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you taking time to visit with me.
Absolutely. FacingNolan.com is how you can get information and updates on the documentary. Facing Nolan is the name of the documentary. A pleasure. I'd love to do this more often if you're up for it, Nolan Ryan.
Thank you, Rich. Yeah, anytime.
All right, that's Nolan Ryan, everybody, right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.